In a world where stadiums roar, timelines erupt, and entire nations pause for a match, there exists a quiet group, people who don't watch football. Society often labels them as uninterested, disconnected, or missing out. But the truth is deeper and far more interesting. These individuals are not defined by lack. They are defined by different values, psychological patterns, and internal priorities. Not watching football is not a rejection of joy. It is a reflection of how they choose to experience life, meaning, and excitement in their own way. Their silence isn't indifference, it's independence. Their disinterest isn't ignorance, it's a conscious choice rooted in identity, temperament, and intellectual preference. And today, we explore the psychology behind them, not to judge, but to understand. Some people simply don't resonate with collective emotion. They do not feel compelled to join the crowd or immerse themselves in adrenaline-fueled culture. Instead, they prefer activities that offer solitude, reflection, or quiet engagement. Books, strategy games, creative work, personal hobbies. They value inner stimulation more than external entertainment. Where the world chases noise, they chase meaning. Some don't watch football because they reject social pressure. They see mass obsession and choose to remain independent thinkers. They do not follow trends to feel included. They don't need the comfort of belonging to a team or a fan group to feel confident. For them, individuality is more rewarding than conformity. Others view time differently. They think in opportunity cost. 90 minutes of football could be 90 minutes building a skill, learning, resting, or creating. They experience joy in productivity and internal growth more than in competitive entertainment. This doesn't make them superior. It simply reveals a different motivation and energy system. And there are those who simply find emotional neutrality more comfortable. They do not need spikes of excitement, tension, or suspense to feel alive. Their nervous system prefers calm. Their mind loves stability more than thrill. Their happiness comes from peace, not adrenaline. To not watch football is not a lack of passion. It is passion directed elsewhere. These people live life consciously, following their own rhythm instead of society's heartbeat, and that is its own kind of strength. For many people who don't watch football, it begins with a simple truth. They find deeper fulfillment in their own world than in collective excitement. Where the crowd seeks belonging through shared emotion, they seek authenticity through personal engagement. They are not against joy, passion, or community. They simply derive those emotions from different sources, ones that feel more aligned with who they are. Their interests are not shaped by global enthusiasm or cultural expectation. They are shaped by what resonates within, not what echoes outside. This preference for individual interests often stems from a reflective and introspective nature. These individuals tend to ask themselves questions others never consider. Do I truly enjoy this? Is this meaningful for me? Does this add value to my experience of life? While millions gather to watch a match because everyone is watching, they pause, evaluate, and sometimes decide no. That is not apathy, it is awareness. It takes confidence to step away from what society celebrates. It takes inner stability to stay loyal to your own curiosities even when the world calls something exciting, normal, or important. Many of them find excitement in other realms: intellectual pursuits, creative projects, personal achievements, philosophical thought, nature, art, or quiet hobbies. They don't need roaring crowds to feel alive. They can find energy in silence, focus, and solitude. They are often self-stimulating minds. Their imagination is enough to entertain them. Their curiosity is enough to keep them engaged. Their passions may not be loud, but they are deep. Their detachment from mass enthusiasm also reflects independence. They don't chase emotional experiences simply because others do. They don't feel compelled to adopt mainstream interests to fit in. This is a rare psychological strength, being able to stand alone without feeling alone. They don't need external validation to justify their choices. They don't need group identity to feel confident. Their connection to themselves is stronger than their desire to connect through trends or traditions. Additionally, they often hold a broader perspective on entertainment. They do not view missing a football match as missing out. To them, life is bigger than any game, event, or cultural moment. They see entertainment as optional, not essential. They can enjoy it when they choose, but they never feel controlled by it. Their enjoyment is intentional, not automatic. Most importantly, their preference is not a rejection of football fans. It is an acceptance of who they are. They do not judge those who love the game. They simply honor their own path. And this quiet self-honor speaks volumes. It reveals a person who listens more to their inner voice than the outer world. A person who finds value in personal passions rather than popular ones. A person who chooses depth over conformity, reflection over noise, authenticity over ritual, and in a world that constantly pulls us toward sameness, such individuals remind us of a powerful truth. Freedom isn't always loud, and joy doesn't always come in crowds. Sometimes, it lives quietly inside the mind of someone who simply chooses their own way. People who don't watch football often possess a unique relationship with time, one defined by intentionality rather than routine or social rhythm. For many, time is not something to be filled, but something to be honored. They view hours and attention as currency more valuable than excitement or adrenaline. While others eagerly schedule their weekends around matches, countdowns, and league calendars, these individuals prefer to spend their time where they feel true growth, rest, or meaning. Their refusal to engage in popular entertainment is rarely about disinterest. It is about choice, preservation, and priority. They often hold a mindset rooted in personal productivity or self-development. They ask themselves, what will this moment give me? Where does my mind go when I watch this? If the answer does not align with their goals, they walk away. To some, this may seem rigid or overly serious, but to them, it is discipline, not deprivation. They do not measure life by how many games they've watched, but by how many skills they've cultivated, how many inner questions they've answered, how many steps they have taken toward their personal evolution. For others in this group, time is tied not to productivity, but to peace. They do not avoid football because they are busy. They avoid it because it interrupts a silence they treasure. The match's noise, the emotional roller coaster, the unpredictability, none of it matches the quiet satisfaction of reading, resting, thinking, or doing something gentle and grounding. Where the world finds thrill in intensity, they find comfort in tranquility. Where society seeks stimulation, they seek stillness. And then there are those who simply refuse to give away their emotional energy without purpose. They recognize that collective excitement, while powerful, can also be draining. Watching victories that aren't theirs, mourning losses that do not affect their lives, tying happiness to strangers' performances, this emotional economy does not appeal to them. Instead, they conserve their emotional reserves for personal joys, meaningful relationships, and their own ambitions. They participate emotionally only where their heart genuinely belongs. Their approach to time is deeply psychological. It reflects self-respect, clarity, and maturity. They are not rebels against sport. They are protectors of their attention. They don't avoid football because they can't relate. They avoid it because they relate more to themselves than to crowds. Their time is theirs and they guard it with intention. And in a culture that loudly celebrates what everyone loves, there is subtle power in quietly choosing your own rhythm. It is not the absence of passion, it is the presence of self-direction. While others cheer for teams, they cheer for their own life path. While others tune into matches, they tune into themselves, and that is not apathy, that is autonomy. It is not detachment, it is devotion. It is the quiet courage to say, my time is my life, and I choose where it goes. Some people who don't watch football have a mind that naturally resists collective trends and cultural conformity. It is not rebellion for the sake of rebellion. it is autonomy in its purest form. Their psychology often leans toward independent thinking, a desire to form their own beliefs, passions, and pursuits rather than absorbing them from the crowd. They are not swayed by the emotional current of the masses, they observe it from a distance. When millions cheer, they listen quietly. When society tells them what excitement should look like, they answer internally, "I'll decide that for myself." This independence is not arrogance, it is self-awareness. They understand that human psychology is easily influenced by group enthusiasm, social validation, and belonging. They recognize how stadiums, chants, rivalries, and fan culture tap into tribal instincts. Instead of being pulled into a collective emotional tide, they choose the solitude of their own mind. It is an inner preference for clarity over noise, thought over reaction, originality over imitation. They do not want to feel something because others feel it. They want to feel it because it genuinely arises within them. Their refusal to follow the crowd reflects confidence in their internal compass. They do not fear missing out. They fear losing themselves. Trends come and go, crowds roar and fade, but their values remain steady. They know that popular does not always mean meaningful, that the majority is not always correct, and that following the herd is the fastest way to forget who you are. Their detachment from mass culture is therefore not ignorance but insight, a subtle declaration of intellectual sovereignty. And yet, this mental independence can make them appear distant or uninterested to others. Society sometimes expects everyone to participate in the shared rituals of excitement. But while others bond over matches, these individuals bond over depth, over ideas, over quiet passions, over things not dictated by culture but born from personal truth. Their friendships are not built on common entertainment but on common essence. This mindset often develops in people who value introspection, who question things before accepting them, who have tasted the freedom of choosing life on their own terms. They do not need a crowd to validate them, nor do they seek identity in external symbols like teams or trophies. Their pride comes from controlling their attention, not surrendering it. In a world where millions move in synchrony, they choose their own rhythm. In a culture driven by trends, they build their own compass. In a society obsessed with belonging, they master the art of standing alone without feeling lonely. Their refusal is not resistance, it is resolution. It is the quiet strength of someone who knows that the most powerful life is not lived by following the crowd, but by listening to the voice within. Some people who don't watch football have a different emotional landscape, one that values inner equilibrium over external stimulation. Football, for many, is an emotional storm. Adrenaline spikes, tension, hope, disappointment, joy, anger. But there are individuals who do not desire this roller coaster, not because they lack passion, but because they prioritize emotional steadiness. They do not chase highs because they understand that highs often come with lows. They choose peace over intensity, balance over chaos, and stability over emotional volatility. Such people often possess a calm, psychological baseline. They soak in silence like it is oxygen. Their inner world is rich enough that they do not need external excitement to feel alive. Their peace comes not from cheering but from thinking, not from noise but from quiet satisfaction. While society often glorifies intensity, thrill, and competition, these individuals understand the beauty of emotional neutrality, a kind of quiet strength that many overlook. Instead of seeking excitement outside, they cultivate a calm inside. Their avoidance of emotional highs does not mean numbness, it means awareness. They recognize how easy it is for intense emotional environments to consume energy, shift moods, and blur priorities. They do not want their happiness tied to uncertain outcomes or external events they cannot control. They choose emotional sovereignty, protecting their inner climate the way others protect their savings or health. This emotional discipline also reflects maturity. It takes wisdom to know which emotions are worth experiencing and which are distractions disguised as entertainment. It takes awareness to step back and say, "Not every excitement is good for my mind." These individuals prefer emotional investment in personal growth, relationships, and meaningful activities, places where their feelings matter, where their reactions shape their life rather than someone else's victory or loss. Yet, to many observers, they may seem uninvolved or uninterested in life's passion. But passion does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Their passion may be subtle, slow, and steady, in art, learning, nature, spirituality, or solitude. They find fulfillment not in cheering loudly but in feeling deeply. They are not bored, they are selective. They are not emotionless, they are emotionally intelligent. Their psychology teaches us a powerful truth. Excitement is not the only form of aliveness. Sometimes true living is calm breathing, not rapid heartbeats. Sometimes the richest moments are still, not loud. And sometimes emotional quiet is not emptiness, it is mastery. In a world addicted to stimulation, those who can remain calm are not missing out. They are winning a different game, one played not in stadiums but within the soul. For many people who don't watch football, social dynamics play a significant role. It isn't that they dislike belonging. Rather, they refuse to belong where they don't genuinely feel connected. They have a selective social instinct. When society gathers around a game, they do not automatically feel a pull toward the crowd, because they don't see collective participation as a requirement for identity. Their relationships are built on shared values, depth, and meaningful interaction, not on shared entertainment habits or temporary emotional highs. This trait often reflects a refined understanding of social energy and emotional bandwidth. They recognize that social moments, especially loud, high-energy ones, cost energy, attention, and focus. And since football culture is deeply social, involving cheering, debating, celebrating, and sometimes arguing, these individuals consciously decide whether such emotional labor brings them joy or drains them. For many, the answer is simple. Their social circle is intentionally small, their conversations intentionally meaningful, and their time intentionally valued. They don't join crowds simply to avoid feeling left out. They prefer connection over company, presence over participation, authenticity over conformity. At a deeper psychological level, this reflects strong self-identity. They do not need large social rituals to feel included or validated. They do not fear being different. They understand that belonging is powerful, but they also know that forced belonging is emptiness disguised as connection. To them, solitude is not loneliness, it's clarity. Choosing to stay away from the mainstream is not isolation, it is integrity. In fact, their avoidance of mass social events often stems from a subtle but profound emotional autonomy. When they socialize, they want genuine human connection, not synchronized cheering or competitive banter. They want conversations, not noise. They want shared understanding, not shared distraction. They do not look for people to pass time with. They look for people to share life with. Of course, this can make them appear distant to others, especially in cultures where football is seen as a universal bonding language. People may assume they are antisocial, uninterested, or uninvolved. But in reality, they are deeply social in a different way. Intimate rather than public, meaningful rather than habitual. They prefer depth over popularity and resonance over excitement. These individuals remind us of a quiet truth. Real connection is not proven by cheering beside millions. It is felt in conversations with a few who truly see us. Football unites crowds, but these individuals seek connections that unite souls. While others bond through shared excitement, they bond through shared understanding. Their refusal to join the stadium of social expectations is not a lack of social spirit. It is a higher standard for what connection should feel like. Some people who don't watch football also carry a temperament rooted in intellectual curiosity and depth-driven engagement. Their minds are constantly searching, not for entertainment, but for understanding. While many enjoy the thrill of the game, the strategies, the rivalries, and the emotional highs, these individuals are drawn to pursuits that feed a different hunger, the hunger for knowledge, meaning, and mental stimulation beyond competitive play. Their time gravitates toward reading, analyzing, creating, exploring ideas, and engaging in conversations that challenge assumptions rather than cheer for outcomes. This isn't to say they dismiss football as low value. Rather, it simply does not align with their inner priorities. They find their version of excitement in learning something new, solving personal puzzles, or diving into philosophical questions. They thrive in environments where complexity unfolds in silence rather than in stadium roars. For them, thinking deeply feels more alive than reacting passionately. Curiosity, not adrenaline, fuels their mind. Inquiry, not spectacle, shapes their joy. Psychologically, this reflects what many researchers call cognitive autonomy, a need to explore, think, and understand the world through inner frameworks rather than external structures. Football provides many people with narrative and community, but deep thinkers create their own narrative, build their own meaning, and often prefer the company of ideas over crowds. They do not chase energy from outside, they ignite it from within. Their attention is selective and intentional. Instead of following sports news or league updates, they might follow science, philosophy, art, global affairs, or personal growth. They see time as a limited resource and prefer to invest it where the return is insight, wisdom, or self-advancement. Intellectual engagement fulfills them at a level emotional excitement cannot reach. Their mind prefers depth over distraction, study over suspense, growth over games. Yet this does not make them superior or immune to enjoyment. It simply means they are wired differently. Their joy is found in mental stillness, creative pursuits, or structured learning. They are not avoiding excitement, they are choosing meaning. They are not rejecting popular culture. They are building a private culture of thought. To outsiders, they may appear detached from the world's passions, uninterested in what everyone loves, but they are deeply engaged, just in a different dimension. Their world is internal but vast, silent but powerful. They remind us that life can be lived in stadiums or in libraries, in crowds or in contemplation. Some find their spirit in cheering, others find it in thinking. Neither path is wrong. But those who step away from popular excitement to nurture inner curiosity show us that intellectual fulfillment is not absence of passion. It is the presence of a different kind of fire, one that burns quietly but illuminates the soul far more deeply. For some people who don't watch football, their choice is rooted in a deep preference for emotional self-governance and mental independence. They do not like the idea of surrendering their mood, attention, or excitement to external events or uncontrollable outcomes. Where many feel a rush watching a match, these individuals feel a loss of agency, a subtle sense that their emotions are being dictated by forces outside themselves. They instinctively resist this emotional dependency, not because the game lacks thrill, but because they refuse to let external chaos steer their inner world. Their psychology is built around self-containment. They want to remain the author of their emotional script, not a spectator swept into a narrative created by players, commentators, or crowds. They choose emotional sovereignty over collective excitement. This does not mean they live without passion. It means their passion burns privately, directed by inner purpose rather than public frenzy. They know how easily group emotions can hijack individual equilibrium, and they protect their emotional autonomy with intention and quiet discipline. This type of person is often introspective, calm, and self-directed. They find meaning in internal experiences rather than external stimulation. Instead of tying their happiness to the highs and lows of a team or sporting event, they anchor it in personal accomplishments, deep conversations, creative pursuits, or self-improvement. Their emotional life is not performance-based but growth-based. They prefer emotional journeys that evolve their identity, not moments of temporary excitement that disappear once the whistle blows. To others, this might seem detached or intense. But for these individuals, internal steadiness is not just a preference. It is a lifestyle. They understand that life already contains enough unpredictability. They do not seek more adrenaline. They seek peace, clarity, and meaningful progression. They do not want to escape reality through entertainment. They want to build a reality they don't need to escape from. Their joy comes not from being swept away, but from standing firmly rooted in their own emotional ground. And while followers of the game bond over shared tension and triumph, these individuals bond over shared stillness and reflection. Their companionship is not built on reacting together, but on understanding together. They do not gather around screens. They gather around silence, wisdom, or sincere conversation. They choose depth over drama, autonomy over excitement, and intention over impulse. In a world where emotions are constantly pulled, provoked, and performed, their restraint is a rare strength. They remind us that not every heart needs noise to feel alive, and not every soul craves the crowd to feel connected. Some of the most quietly powerful people are those who choose to remain sovereign within themselves, who do not sacrifice emotional freedom for temporary thrill. They show that true strength is not cheering with millions, but being able to stand alone and feel complete.